videos, and repeating in comment sections with quiet certainty. Even now, years after the love story between Demet Özdemir and Can Yaman was said to have ended, a strong, undeniable feeling remains: it never really did. And maybe, just maybe, it still hasn't. The love between Demet and Can wasn't born quietly. It came to life on the set of Daydreamer, a drama that would sweep not only Turkey but the entire world into a romantic whirlwind. What began as fiction rapidly blurred into reality. Their chemistry was electric, their glances real, their silences filled with more meaning than any script could offer. Fans were captivated, not just by the story, but by the real love that seemed to bloom behind the scenes. It wasn't just acting. Everyone could feel it. The way she looked at him. The way he protected her with small gestures. The comfort, the laughter, the ease. It was all there. And when the show ended, the real story had only just begun. Demet and Can tried to keep things quiet, at least at first. But privacy is a luxury rarely afforded to stars of their magnitude. Soon, rumors began to swirl, blurry photos appeared, and subtle confirmations slipped through interviews and off-guard moments. They were together. Really together. And people loved it. The fandom exploded. Edits were made, fan fiction spread like wildfire, theories spun across Twitter and YouTube. They weren't just a couple, they were a cultural moment. They represented possibility, passion, and proof that sometimes, fiction can reflect something very real. Their relationship wasn't just consumed, it was cherished. But fame is a heavy weight to carry, especially when love is new and fragile. Schedules became packed, expectations grew, and pressure mounted. The eyes of millions watched their every move, turning intimate moments into public spectacle. Suddenly, the fairy tale started to shift. They grew distant. Less public. Less affectionate. Until, one day, they weren't together anymore. No official statements. No dramatic scandals. Just a quiet end to what had once felt like everything. But for fans, and perhaps for Demet herself, it never felt like a full stop. Over the years, fans had watched her carefully, not to invade, but because they cared. They saw the way her eyes softened when someone mentioned the past. They caught the tremble in her voice when she spoke about love. They noticed how often she avoided directly naming Can in interviews, even when everyone knew who she was talking about. The signs weren't always loud, but they were persistent. There were stories hidden in Instagram captions. Emotions tucked between the lines of magazine interviews. Glimpses of nostalgia in her public appearances. An old song posted at just the right time. A photo with a backdrop suspiciously similar to one from their past. A silence that said more than any public denial. And slowly, those who had once cheered for their love began to whisper something else: maybe she never really let him go. Maybe, in some small, silent way, she's still waiting. In recent years, Demet has grown immensely, both professionally and personally. Her acting has reached new heights, her name has traveled far beyond Turkey's borders, and her confidence shines brighter than ever. But even the strongest hearts carry quiet shadows. And when she's asked about love today, there's always a moment, just a breath, before she answers. In one particularly raw interview, when asked about the idea of the one that got away, she didn't dodge. She didn't laugh. She simply smiled and said, "Some people live inside you forever, whether they're near you or not." Fans didn't miss that. Neither did the press. It was one of the many moments that reignited the question: is it still him? Is Can Yaman still the one she sees when she closes her eyes? Social media detectives have pointed out countless coincidences. The song lyrics she posts, the cities they both end up in at the same time, the way she's never truly connected with anyone publicly since him. And perhaps most telling of all, the fact that, no matter how often their past is brought up, Demet never speaks ill of him. Never blames. Never dismisses. Instead, she speaks with warmth, with nostalgia, with a quiet kind of love that feels unresolved. Can Yaman, for his part, has moved in and out of headlines with different names attached to him, but none of them have sparked the same kind of devotion, not from him, and certainly not from fans. The way he smiled when he looked at Demet hasn't been replicated. The spark, the passion, the playful tension, it all belonged to that one chapter. And maybe he knows it too. Maybe that's why he's been so guarded since. Love stories don't always end with grand declarations or dramatic closure. Sometimes they end with a look that lasts too long, a text that's never answered, a moment that's never forgotten. Sometimes they end, or pause, with silence. And that's what makes this story so powerful. Because even in the silence, the echoes remain. In her growth, in his distance, in the places where their names are still spoken together like a wish. Fans believe because they remember how it felt, to watch two people fall in love without filters, without scripts. To witness something real in a world that's so often fake. They believe because love like that doesn't just vanish. It lingers. It stays. It becomes part of who you are. Demet may continue to grow, to succeed, to explore new paths, but some hearts never fully close. And for those who watched them fall, the hope still burns, quietly, patiently, but persistently. They believe because there was no final goodbye, no definitive goodbye scene. Just a pause. A long, aching pause filled with possibility. And so, when they say, she never moved on, they're not talking about obsession or denial. They're talking about truth, the kind that doesn't need headlines to survive. The kind that lives quietly in the background of your life, forever waiting for the right time to step forward again. And maybe, one day, it will. Maybe a chance encounter in a quiet cafe, a fleeting moment at an airport, or a nostalgic glance across a crowded room will be enough to break the silence. Maybe a late-night message, typed and deleted 100 times before, will finally be sent. Maybe it won't even need words, just a look, just a moment, just the electricity in the air when two souls who have always belonged to each other find themselves in the same space once more. Time has a way of healing, of reshaping pain into clarity, of softening anger into understanding. And sometimes, all it takes is a small crack in the routine of life for love to slip back in. Until then, the fans will keep watching. Searching for signs in every interview, reading between the lines of every caption, holding on to memories like sacred truths. They will remember how it all began, the glances, the laughter, the fire that didn't need a script. They will believe, not just because they want to, but because deep down, something about that love always felt too real, too powerful, to simply fade away. Because in the world of love, especially one that once felt this authentic, this electric, this destined, no story is ever truly over. It lingers like a song that never quite ends, like the scent of someone you loved long after they're gone, like a dream you keep returning to even after you've woken up. Some stories wait. Quietly. Faithfully. For the right time, the right place, the right version of you. And when that moment finally arrives, it doesn't just pick up where it left off, it begins again, stronger than before. Their story may be paused. But the pen hasn't dropped. The pages are still turning. And somewhere, in the soft corners of hope and memory, the next chapter is quietly waiting to be written.